Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
Number 14.
It's a 1 and a 4 for those of you that can't count.
Still going strong. I apologize for last week's lack of video. We have one side of the video, but my phone actually completely shit the bed. And as you can see on Tommy's end, it literally just goes into a white screen. I got it checked out, and it is a complete internal failure somewhere. They didn't tell me what the technical solution was, but they said it would need an internal replacement completely. Don't have Apple Care. Sucks.
I thought I was better than them and sat here for the last 20 minutes trying to fix it to no avail.
Yeah, it's bad. So I had to buy a new phone. So I don't know if it looks any different than before. It technically should. It's a new phone. Newest updated phone, which sucks because the 16 comes out in like 4 months.
Could have just gone without a phone for 4 months.
Yeah, digital retirement for 4 months.
Yeah,
that would have been interesting. No podcasts, no text messages. I'm just gonna go rogue. That's what I went rogue for 4 months. I mean, probably would be a good thing, to be honest.
I've done it.
True,
I have gone like months without talking to a single person.
Obviously the hardest thing for me, I think, would be social media, but yeah. I do think I would come back a rejuvenated man.
Yeah.
All right. Just like the past, I don't know, we didn't do it for Caitlin, but we did it for Jack. So I'd say
thrice.
3 episodes. Yeah.
Not the last 3, but 3 intermittently.
Yep.
Of the last 4.
Everyone that we did by ourselves, starting from 9, and then
also
Jack's.
Jack. Yeah.
So this May 9th, Carpe Diem. Let us therefore set out wholeheartedly, leaving aside our many distractions, and exert ourselves in this single purpose, before we realize too late the swift and unstoppable flight of time and are left behind. As each day arises, welcome it as the very best day of all, and make it your very own possession. We must seize what flees. Seneca. You only get one shot at today. You only have 24 hours with which to take it, and then it is gone and lost forever. Will you fully inhabit all of today? Will you call out, I've got this, and do your very best to be your very best? What will you manage to make of today before it slips from your fingers and becomes the past? When someone asks you what you did yesterday, do you really want the answer to be nothing?
Carpe diem, seize the day. That's such a... Like, when you think of Stoicism, Carpe diem is probably one of the most common phrases ever. But it is words to live by, to be honest. Like, you should be seizing every day and doing the most with what you can every single day. And I think another big part of that, he said, left behind in the quote. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm going to get Carpe Diem tatted on my left ass cheek now.
That's a great idea. We should both do that.
Yeah.
I think the last part of that, not the quote, but the little paragraph at the end. Do you really want to answer if somebody asks you, what did you do yesterday? Would you really want to say nothing?
Yeah, that's terrifying.
And I think that's actually, like you said, it's terrifying because I couldn't imagine losing so much time. Like, a day is minuscule in the short term, but there's going to be there's going to be a time that you wish you had one more day.
Yeah.
And to know that you spent one day, multiple days saying that you did nothing is scary.
Yeah.
And it really makes you want to make the most out of every single day because of how much time or how limited time on this earth is and how precious time is. It's the only thing that you can't make more of.
Yeah.
It's like a question. If you were walking on the street and somebody came up to you and asked, hey, I'm going to give you $10 million, but you won't wake up tomorrow, would you take it?
I don't even think you could spend $10 million in a day. You know how hard that would be to do?
But that's the thing. It's like, that means you are saying that waking up every morning is worth more than $10 million.
Yeah.
So wake up every morning knowing that life is priceless.
Yeah. Time is priceless because that's the one thing you can never get back.
That quote hits, that last part really hits hard. I feel like your answer should never be nothing. And to be honest, most of the time I feel like your answer really can never be nothing. There's always going to be something you can say
You
that
got
you
out
did.
of that is still doing something.
Doing something, but obviously some people don't see that as valuable.
Yeah.
And that's why you really have to recognize how valuable it really is. Because getting up is something that some people in the world don't do.
Yeah.
Or even some people can't physically get up.
It makes me think of the last iron lung patient that just died a couple months ago. I think
What does that mean?
So back in I want to say the 50s, polio was rampant, and polio would completely disable you. You had it would paralyze you. You couldn't use your fucking lungs, and they'd put you in this big machine that would breathe for you. And there was, I can't remember his name, but there was a guy that prolonged his life and lived in an iron lung for 70 years. And
Okay.
he could use his mouth to paint and use his head and look around and shit. Actually, I don't even know if he could turn his head, but he had control of his mouth muscles, but that was it. And he got put into it as a kid. So he spent his entire life of 70 plus years just in an iron lung, not being able to do anything.
But he still was able to, like you said, do stuff with his mouth.
Yeah, he could
or eventually, he couldn't, but he could for a while.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how your body can adapt.
Yeah.
Because you think of people that don't have any arms, they
they,
use their feet.
Yeah, or they eat like this, and you see them. I've seen videos like that, and it's crazy. I couldn't imagine having to live like that, and they can do it every day.
Yeah. Props to them. I don't know, dude. I could never imagine having to use my feet to do everyday tasks. Obviously, not everything, but
imagine brushing your teeth with your toes and stuff.
you gotta be flexible as hell.
Yeah.
Got some hip mobility.
Yeah. But I mean, growing up like that and living like that, I feel like you'd probably have the hip mobility to do it because you're using your legs for that type of shit more.
Yeah, of course. Just the adaptability of the human body.
Yeah. It's funny that that's what we started with, because a lot of the things that I was reading deeper into this week were just huge medical advancements.
Really?
Yeah. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, the first patient for the clinical trials and studies for Neuralink just hit 100 days. And his name's Nolan Arbaugh, and he's a complete quadriplegic, no use of his arms and legs, and he would have to what did it say? Oh, he used to use a mouth stick. Same thing as the guy with polio, actually. He had a mouth stick that he'd use to use his laptop and control things, and he'd have to put it in his mouth and use that to use the cursor and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And now, because of the Neuralink implant, he can control a mouse cursor with his mind. It can differentiate between right and left clicks. Yeah, and with the mouth held, it was a stylus, a mouth held tablet stylus. A caregiver had to put it in his mouth every time he wanted to use it. It could only be used in the upright position to operate a tablet, not a laptop, sorry. With prolonged use, it was leading to discomfort, muscle fatigue, and pressure sores. He also couldn't talk with it in. And then since his surgery, he can use the Neuralink to control his laptop from various positions, lying down in bed, however he wants to be positioned. He can play online computer games now with his friends. It says he even used the link to play Mario Kart on a Nintendo Switch console, something he had not been able to do since his spinal cord injury. And then, the link is able to distinguish between left and right clicks, and allows cursor control sufficiently precise to select targets similar in size to the smallest icons and buttons on a laptop screen. So he can control a computer completely just with his mind.
That is crazy. So
Yeah.
does that require you to implant something into the computer so that they can connect with each other?
I don't think so. I think it's that.
Is it Bluetooth? He has a Bluetooth thing that connects to the computer?
That's what it is. almost.
And it probably needs, I wonder if,
Because he can use a switch too.
yeah. So
And
it
just links.
Hmm.
And it's crazy to think about because, like, tests were successful in, like, I think they were using, like, monkeys for a while. Or pigs. I think it was pigs, actually, they were using for them. And now that it's at a point where they can put it in a human, because I read the 100-day blog that they posted a couple days ago, and as he sees problems, they go through and they like update the Neuralink in his brain and solve the problems and make whatever the problem is just fixed. And like they've done updates to make his cursor control speed better, and this is only 100 days in.
This, I mean, obviously it connects to the brain. It just kind of reminds me of, like, in a way, like the eye tracking on like the Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're not using a trackpad or whatever with a Vision Pro, which you can. But the Vision Pro is, you can literally just use your eye movement. You don't even have to use your
You just look that way in it.
Yeah, so that's why I'm curious on, is he the only, you know, if he's the only
He is
human?
the only human with one implanted right now.
Well, I mean, that makes sense why they fix things so fast.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, what type of waiver, I don't know if there's like a waiver or how much money they're paying him to try this, because he is literally the only guinea pig for Neuralink.
Yeah.
And I find that very interesting. I'm curious on what things have gone wrong with it.
There was little issues, but I don't remember what they were.
I'm just curious because, like, you think about, he could literally use a full-on computer by using the Vision Pro. Like, I would assume Neuralink is probably the same price.
Yeah, but think about it like this. Like, with the Vision Pro, he has to get it on his head. He needs a caregiver to do that.
Who turns on the computer for him? He turns on the computer with his mind?
That's a good question. I don't
So
know.
it's like, you put the same thing with Vision Pro. You have to have somebody put it on for you and whatever. He's going to have somebody there either way.
Yeah.
In his situation specifically, he's going to have somebody there either way. So I'm curious if 100 days ago, the Vision Pro wasn't out at the time. So I'm curious if he would try the Vision Pro and see the difference between the speeds and stuff, because you literally don't need. Now, I don't know if you can type without your
keyboard,
without your hands and stuff, because you're literally all like, and then like typing like this. So there is some sort of accessibility features. You can definitely use your voice for sure.
Yeah.
I just feel like at that point, obviously, Vision Pro doesn't really play games. Well, I think it does play games, but I don't think you'd be able to play them simply with eye tracking and like head movement, or it would return to like the muscle fatigue that it said when he was like using the thing in his mouth. I mean, same thing. You're carrying around this thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna get some neck strain at
and you
times.
have to be sitting like this with the iPad mounted in front of you, and you have to have the stylus in your mouth and tap.
Well, a Vision Pro's actually crazy. We did a demo for it, and literally you can sit back, you can. That's the problem though. It's like you can open things. I don't know. I actually don't know if you can open things. Well, you could open with your, like I said, your voice.
Yeah.
So you'd be like, open movie theater or something, and you could watch movies, and it's crazy. Like, dude, watching a movie on a plane with a Vision Pro would be so sweet, because it literally puts you in like an immersive theater. You can look everywhere, and it's like the wilderness. You can choose your way out and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting to think about how he's getting through that. And I mean, I understand they probably chose him for a reason, because he was probably like, if I have a chance at doing anything more than what I'm capable of doing now, I want to do it. So even if he passed away, unfortunately, like, he probably wouldn't have minded too much.
Yeah, because it was kind of an all or nothing shot.
Yeah, and I don't know. I do think that's pretty sweet that they're doing it. It's scary though, because that specifically, the Neuralink, reminds me of have you watched like most of Black Mirror?
I've only seen like 3 or 4 episodes.
Okay, so there's this one episode where they implant something in your head and you can recall memories. So you can rewind every memory. and pretty much the government can use that against you pretty much because everybody has it. They can just like link up and they can rewind to a certain part of the day. The whole part of that episode was to figure out if, I think it was like his wife or something was cheating on him. Mm-hmm. So he was able to go and plug in or something and see her memories and see whatever happened. And that just reminds me of like, if everybody has all this Neuralink stuff, obviously it might not be connected to the government because it's owned by Elon Musk and I mean, not Tesla, but you know what I'm saying? Now the government would probably regulate it. They probably would be like, okay, I don't know. They probably would say we need to have some sort of access to this. But then again, can you imagine that brings in a whole new era of cybersecurity? Yeah. Can you imagine getting hacked into your head?
Yeah.
And just being able to see. So I listened to this podcast today about how China is sending students to the US, but they're using them as pretty much undercover spies.
Yeah.
And they're listening to like what other Chinese students say, and then they go and report back to the Chinese Communist Party. Can you imagine if everybody that came into the US, let's just say US, gets implemented with Neuralink, and these Chinese spies come in and they're able to recall everything that they see, and then they just go back to China and just like, okay, link up memories. This is like the mainframe of this certain building that I was able to get into. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, done. Yeah. They just completely hacked the entire network inside the United States.
Yeah, and they have
they have the layout.
Passwords.
Yep.
Fucking everything.
Everything that person was able to get into, they have it digitally. They don't even probably need them to go back. They can probably link up from here to China and be able to see them from there.
And that also arises the question of like, could this ever be allowed for just someone like you or me? Like someone like, would they ever allow it outside of for medical use?
I think that's the idea.
I know that's the idea, but like, do you think the government would ever be like, okay, yeah, you can go get this fucking chip in your brain?
I think there's too much risk for the layperson to just walk around with. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, they might let lay people get it, but not important people.
Yeah.
Because they don't have access to these specific documents and stuff.
Yeah.
Now they could obviously link, I don't know, find some sort of information that they could steal. Like anyone could steal from you.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be China. And it doesn't even have to be about the government. Like, I feel like that leads into such a mass issue when it comes to privacy that I think if you go into getting that, you have to realize that.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how many people will be okay with that. And like, you're putting your whole entire identity on the line. Identity theft becomes so much easier, so much simpler if you're able to just hack in, especially for the fact that because it's so new, I would assume that it's not going to be easy to get in, but someone that's relatively seasoned in cyber crime could hack into your brain and somehow steal all your stuff.
Yeah. Would you ever get one?
Probably not.
'Cause the only thing is like, this is so innovative and crazy, and we've never seen anything like it before. But like, at the same time, like besides for, i.e., a quadriplegic, I feel like it doesn't do much for us yet.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I can compare to is, I think it's Ray-Ban and Meta, the glasses that like record stuff. That's like the thing I can most
Snapchat
directly.
also has those.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the thing I can most directly correlate it to, but like, obviously, its main capability isn't to take video. Like, you're not taking videos with your eyes and it's uploading it to a computer and stuff. That's not exactly what it would be, but
it could
eventually get to that point. But
you hear a song you like and you can download it.
Yeah,
it's just
I don't see the use currently because everything's so accessible with your phone.
Yeah,
that I couldn't see why you would need the extra second or I guess millisecond to just be like record and like you or whatever, you know.
But like, these are also the questions, obviously slightly different, but like this is the shit that people were talking about when like cell phones first came out.
Yeah,
Like,
so it was, I don't remember if we talked about this in an episode, but it was like, we don't realize the significance of an invention until like 25 years later. So, okay, Neuralink is, however it is old now, we probably won't see the benefits of it until 20 plus years later when it's been tested on more than one person, it's been honed, and they find more capabilities with it. It's just really hard to see what the capabilities of it are currently. It's kind of the same thing with when the Vision Pro came out. People are like, what are we going to use this for?
Yeah,
like, you have a laptop, you have a phone. You need to know specifically what you're going to use it for. And yes, there's people coming out with ways to create certain things to do specific things in the Vision Pro, but it's very niche, and we won't see. I think the Vision Pro will probably turn into glasses before the Neuralink becomes a massively produced thing.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to use a whole computer in a pair of glasses before you're able to have control over certain things with your brain completely, in my opinion.
Yeah. I still think, though, that Neuralink could be the next big thing in 25 years. Like, eventually it could hit the point of full autonomy and let you do fucking anything. And that's why it'll be the step up on shit like VR goggles like the Vision Pro or anything like that. I just Googled to see if you could trade on it in the stock market.
On the
Put
Vision
in
Pro?
On Neuralink.
Oh.
Long position on Neuralink.
You're just like, I want to buy this. And it's like, okay, bought.
You can only invest indirectly via venture funds and investment syndicates, or you can purchase shares directly on pre-IPO marketplaces like Hive.
Very niche.
I didn't know that pre-IPO marketplaces were a thing. Yeah, definitely not investing yet. I'll wait till it has an IPO.
Staying on the topic of technology in China, I guess you don't really use TikTok, but
The ban.
the TikTok ban.
Yeah. I saw yesterday, actually, that, like, there was, like, I don't know where they got the info from, so it might have been bullshit, but as far as I saw, it said that banning TikTok hit its highest probability since it came out, like, since the first time this started happening back in, 2020, 2021, and that kind of caught me off guard because there's been so many times that bills have started to go through Congress that people were like, oh my God, TikTok's going to be banned. And it was all over the internet for a couple weeks. And then the bill didn't pass and it just kind of got brushed under the rug.
Yeah.
But I think the bill has made it the farthest it's ever made it now. So it's starting to look like it's very possible.
Well, so I guess TikTok has been putting out information that it's a ban, but it's really not a ban.
They want it to sell.
It needs to be sold to the U.S. because back in, I don't even know I guess it was the FDR era. They passed a law that said the main source of media cannot be owned by a foreign entity.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point. And they have actually, so going back to the ban, they signed something on the 24th, the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act. It says it would ban social networking apps within 270 to 360 days if they are determined by the President of the U.S. and relevant provisions to be a foreign adversary controlled application. This act explicitly applies to TikTok without the need for additional determination. It ceases to be applicable if an app is sold or no longer considered by the President to be controlled by a foreign adversary. So the big issue right now is that obviously our main source of media, our main source of news for a lot of people is currently controlled by the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah.
So that's the issue. They want them to sell it over the U.S. because they want to make sure that. So people are saying that it's an issue of acting against the First Amendment, but it really isn't, because what China is currently doing with TikTok is it's manipulating the data so that it either pushes out data that makes the U.S. look bad, or takes down data that makes China look really bad.
Yeah.
So it's trying to make sure that TikTok is like organic and unfettered, so that people actually can have that freedom of speech, can have the information that's like you said, organic or true and as truthful as possible. And if it's being manipulated by China, it's obviously going to manipulate everybody that's on it. You never, I mean, especially with the brain rot and the scrolling that happens nowadays, like you never know. I feel like you don't technically know it. Some people don't notice it, but it's happening.
Yeah. And I mean, that's exactly what it is 90% of TikTok users won't look deeper into the issue, and they don't understand that it is America trying to really free up our First Amendment right and not take it away. Because I know it. Like the graphs I read and what I've read about it has said that like America wants it to be sold to them, to us. But most people won't look that far. They see a headline that says TikTok possibly banned, and they freak the fuck out, and that's all they read. They don't look deeper.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I definitely think it could be good for it.
I agree as well. I mean, I feel like I don't see much content that's pushed onto my page that is really pushing bad things onto the U.S. Or, hiding things from, I mean, obviously they might be hiding things about China, but I am moving towards with like the information that I've heard and hearing the stuff about the act that's going on and the podcast that I was listening to. I am thinking about moving most of our stuff to strictly Instagram and Facebook because it's American owned. I know technically it might be a little bit harder to grow, but I just feel like the privacy of it is better.
Yeah.
To know that, because technically they're searching somewhere in our data. I mean, like I said, with like the spies, do you think they're just searching in those spies that they send? Definitely not. They're searching in everybody's videos that post on TikTok.
Yeah.
So you think about how much privacy is at risk. And obviously we've already probably put up enough information on there that it doesn't technically matter. But then it comes to a sense of more like morals and values. Like, it's not like if you use TikTok, you don't support the US or whatever the fuck, but it's just, I do think it would be a good idea for it to get sold to the US and maybe for people to not use it as much as it's currently being used.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it is, but there's a reason I've never liked TikTok, and it's just...
It's so funny because I mean, this was however long ago, but I never initially liked TikTok either. I didn't download the app for a while, but I would watch TikTok compilations on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then for some reason I was like, I think it was, I downloaded it because somebody told me that it's really easy to get views and followers off of it.
And then you were like,
and I was like, yeah, I probably should do that. And, yeah, but I don't know. It's definitely an interesting topic, but basing off of that and kind of like being skeptical about things, I have a question that I would like us to talk about. What is the role of doubt and skepticism in the search for knowledge and understanding?
What is the role of doubt and skepticism? I feel like when you're learning something new, you do always have to be skeptical and have doubt and make sure what you're learning is coming from a valid source. Because for example, if someone's telling me something at work and I don't 100% trust their word, and I don't think, like, if I don't think they're very, very smart, I am always skeptical about what they say, because what do they have to back it up? And I feel like if you're not skeptical and you don't have doubt with new knowledge, a lot of false information can be spread, and that kind of snowballs because a lot of people just believe what they hear whenever they hear it and they don't doubt it no matter what.
I definitely agree. I do think that there always should be some sort of combination between doubt and skepticism. I do think you could probably go overboard at some point, but I think that kind of leads into more pessimism rather than skepticism. And I think I'll go into pessimism eventually, I think, after this. But I think taking something at face value does put you on, or does kind of come across as, put you as like naive or gullible.
Yeah.
So I think without searching for the truth in something that someone tells you, it just doesn't allow you to actually critically think about things. Because like you say, you take something for what it says, what they say, and you don't really question it. You kind of are, in a way, a sheep.
Yeah.
Like you just
follow the herd.
You follow what people say. You believe anything. This actually correlates with a podcast that I was listening to called Philosophize This, and he was specifically talking about a philosopher, a Slovenian philosopher named Slavoj Zizek. And to give you like a quick rundown of what his philosophy is, it's pretty much just giving people ways of thinking about their current ideologies from a different perspective.
Yeah.
So someone tells you an ideology and you are so for about like how you think about this ideology or whatever, and then he'll put it in a completely like weird different way that you would never think, to be able to make you critically think about how other people view this ideology.
Yeah.
And it's kind of these topics go hand in hand, because even if you believe something, a theory, an ideology or whatever, I do think you should continuously hone your knowledge on that, because of the fact that everything and anything changes each and every day. And to just take something as fact and not question it, and even and let's say you get into a discussion about this specific ideology, you see the people that truly believe in one thing and someone tries to negate it or work against it, they get very mad, like very fast.
Yeah.
And I think if you're someone that does that, you just truly don't want to look for other ways through the tunnel.
You don't want to grow at all.
Yeah, you're so so tunnel vision on one thing that to see it a different way, it either takes too much work, you're lazy, you'd rather just believe one thing, or be a sheep and just believe what someone from a specific party believes. And in a way, like I said, I think that doesn't show that, or it shows that you can't critically think. And I just find it very interesting that people aren't interested in trying to learn more about things that they're either interested in or believe themselves.
Yeah. But I mean, that's, honest to God, that's a good portion of our population are stuck in their ways, and if it's not their opinion, it's wrong. And if it's different from their opinion but the same opinion, it's still wrong. Because no one wants to grow anymore. No one wants to expand. No one wants to get smarter. They want the easiest route possible to live life comfortably, and that's all they want. I mean, look at the social media boom. Everyone's on social media doing it now because it's the easiest route to fame and fortune, and everyone wants that. And they'd much rather be a social media star than work hard and learn and do big things. They'd rather make dancing TikToks.
This actually reminded me of something in the Philosophize This podcast. But the idea that from this guy, Zizek, one of his ideas brought up was like, they pretty much, people ignore the evidence of this certain ideology that they bring up. And if they see some sort of, like, someone brings up evidence that it's wrong, they'll be like, oh, that's just like a coincidence. Yeah. So specifically, people will say when their relative, close friend, someone survives from some sort of insane, like, medical issue or car crash, that God is great.
Yeah.
But then a tsunami comes in and kills 250,000 people. And he said, that's just God doing his way. That's something that Zizek would bring up, because it makes you think, like, how can you say that something is one thing and then have evidence that it's not, and then just push it off to the side?
That is honestly a big part of the reason that, like, yes, I still follow religion, and I do believe in a higher power, but it's, I don't know, like there's a lot of shit that I've dealt with in my life that I've been like, how can you, like, if there was a higher power controlling all, why is this shit happening? And it has definitely made me question it before, because like that's honestly a great example. Like, God is great because he saved this one life, but he's not bad for taking 250,000 in this scenario. So, I mean, yeah, I do understand that this is a very controversial topic, and I don't want to step on any toes or make anyone angry, but it really does make you wonder and question. And like, I mean, you look at like ancient times, and a lot of historians talk about how religion was created to control the masses, and really like just it was like a scare tactic almost.
And I'll definitely link these the podcast that I got the Zizek thing from, so you guys can listen to yourself, and you can also kind of understand where that idea from me came from.
Yeah.
But this goes along with the same thing about, having doubt and skepticism. I do think if you hear us or hear someone talk about that specific situation, and you're not able to sit down with them and have a calm conversation about why you believe something, I think that shows that, I don't know, that not that you've taken it too seriously, because obviously like religion is a very serious thing, and I totally respect that.
Yeah.
I just think there's other issues that you would need to figure out, because I would love to have a conversation with someone that, I'm not saying that I totally believe that example, but I would say that example makes sense. I think that would make sense to go against, like, okay, how can you say this, but also this has happened?
Yeah.
I would love to sit down with someone that is for religion, or that
and explain why it's like that.
And I think that also goes with the route, or like the role of doubt and skepticism, because if you're able to find those ways to learn more, that is because you're doubtful and we're skeptical about that, because it makes sense that it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I would love to sit down with somebody and listen more about that. I'm not very religious myself, but I do believe in some sort of, higher being. I just think it's, I don't know, I would love to learn more about that for sure, and see other people's opinions.
I think it'd be cool to like talk to someone, like have like a high priest or someone that's really deep into religion, and also like a heavy agnostic type person that has no belief in any sort of religion whatsoever.
Well, agnostic is you believe that there is something. It's just you don't know which one. Atheist is you just don't believe in anything. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know why I was thinking atheist was Satanist.
Oh,
yeah, that's I
don't know how well that would go, but
no, but an atheist then, yeah, it would be cool to have an atheist versus and see their different views on a topic like that.
Mm-hmm. I think you would need very specific one of each, because I do think a lot of people wouldn't want to be like, oh, you don't believe what I believe in, I'm just not going to talk to you.
Yeah. But you need someone, two, that are skeptical and doubtful of the other, but are willing to learn.
Mm-hmm. There was something that I thought of, and I can't remember what it was.
I have a little thing here that I found, and it's just a little thing, but I thought it was interesting because I do feel like the thing that he created here could be used in a lot more situations than what he created it for. So it's called the Heilmeier Catechism. George Heilmeier, a former DARPA director, 1975 through 1977, crafted a set of questions known as the Heilmeier Catechism to help agency officials think through and evaluate proposed research programs. And it's 8 questions. And I feel like you can apply a lot of these questions in anything you do, and it'll help you. So you have, what are you trying to do? Articulate your objectives using absolutely no jargon. How is it done today, and what are the limits of the current practice? What is new in your approach, and why do you think it will be successful? Who cares? If you are successful, what difference will it make? What are the risks? How much will it cost? How long will it take? What are the midterm and final exams to check for success? And I read that and I was like, damn, like any new idea I have, I need to be running it through these questions. Like, I say I want to start a business, and if I'm really truly going to start a business, I need to look at all of these questions and say, like, am I really going to solve this problem, whatever I'm trying to solve?
Let's go through them. Go ahead, do it.
I don't have I have the questions. I don't have an idea to run the questions.
I mean,
through.
I could run it through the podcast, to be honest.
Yeah, that is.
So, number one, I kind of remember. I don't remember word for word though.
What are we trying to do? Articulate your objectives using absolutely no jargon. So what are we trying to do? Clear cut with the podcast.
Okay, I'm going to steal this from somebody else. And it's to understand the world around us. And, okay, wait, again. It's to better understand the world around us and ourselves.
Okay, yeah.
For me, at least. That's what I...
No, I mean, that's pretty similar to what I'd say. I'd definitely say, like, just... yeah, honestly, just grasping a better understanding of things that I probably wouldn't have looked as deep into. Like, I still would have learned them, but it really brings a deeper understanding to a lot of topics that I just wouldn't have had. And it... Honestly, another big goal of it for me, though, is just making me think more. Like, having someone to bounce ideas off of makes me think a lot harder and lets me get a lot deeper on things, because it really does change my perspective sometimes. Because when you have that other person to, like, challenge your thoughts sometimes, or say, well, what if you look at it like this, it really helps you bring a much deeper understanding about whatever you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. It just allows for more perspective.
Yeah.
Especially bringing, like, on other people other than just us.
Yeah. Well, this one is kind of, I mean, we could still go on to it, but it's not as feasible for a podcast. How is it done today, and what are the limits of the current practice?
Well, how is it done today? It's you think about how it was used to get done. The camera quality was less, the mics weren't as good.
Yeah.
But now you have to compete with so many different podcasts. Like, for example, the Modern Wisdom podcast, they literally used the same video wall that they used in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
To create a background for it. So that's who I mean, not that we technically should be competing against these people, but that's just
who you're up against,
and like how it's currently done. Not that everyone's doing that, but in a way that is something that you should look towards and be like, okay, this is what people enjoy.
Yeah.
But then again, there is other podcasts. I think it's like Tim Ferriss's podcast. I think he does video, but he puts on like a freaking Xbox headset and talks to people over webcam.
Yeah.
Like, so it goes both ways.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there are a lot of different ways that it's done today. And I think a good way to look at it, like the limits of the current practice side of it, it would be cool if we could find that new thing that would set us apart from 100 or 99% of other podcasts.
Yeah. I think also going to like the limits of it is you can only upgrade your camera so much. You can only get a better mic so much, but you need to have interesting creative content putting out by yourself that you genuinely enjoy, because that goes back to you are your own niche.
Yeah.
And if you're not your own niche, you're just trying to copy everybody else, then you're just going to get...
You're going to be left in the dust
Yeah.
because the people that are coming up with the new ideas are the ones that are going to be seen next. And yeah, those people that you were copying probably will still have a following, but that content isn't going to be as sought after anymore. So newer creators in those realms aren't going to blow up as much. It's going to be far and fewer between because it's not new and invigorating for people. And that's what you need nowadays.
Yeah, the only way to be different is to be yourself.
So what is new in our approach and why do we think it'll be successful?
So I would say starting from the beginning, you guys noticed when we started, we were picking one singular topic and we were trying to learn about that throughout the week and then come in and talk about it.
Yeah.
And I kind of, for like the first, I guess it was up to maybe 8. I mean, there was a few episodes that I actually like felt really good about.
Yeah.
But up to 8, I felt like there was a lack of authenticity.
Yeah, it was just us saying, hey, we learned this, we learned that. I read this about this. Oh, you did too?
I mean, we're kind of doing that now, but like, I just think it's more important we're searching up things that we're genuinely interested in rather than taking a topic and trying to learn just because we think it's like kind of a good idea. We're going throughout the week. We're not even looking up the same topics.
It's just, I happen to be like scrolling and something piques my interest. And I'm like Neuralink.
Yeah.
Neuralink, I was scrolling like, it was either early yesterday or late the night before. And I saw that they hit 100 days and I was like, holy fuck. Like I've seen a little bit on Neuralink and with this guy's implant in the last couple months, but they've hit 100 days and shit's going successful. And I went through and read the entire 100-day blog post.
Yeah. And it's just, I think that this will work because it shows what we're interested in.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us different. And there's going to be people that are also going to be interested in seeing what we're interested in throughout the week.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that question in a way doesn't necessarily, it really depends on how you think about it, but it doesn't necessarily work with the podcast because I think that we should be taking the more of the route that we're just doing this to understand the world better and ourselves better.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to
be successful.
Yeah. So yes, I do think we're going to be successful, not in the way of like, we're going to get views, we're going to get all these followers and stuff, but we're going to be able to learn so much more with the way that we've been doing it rather than trying to pick a certain topic each and every week and like feel mediocre about it going into it.
Yeah. Yeah, like this, I mean, because like with those podcasts, they'd be long sometimes, but I feel like we never really got as deep and off on like tangents almost as we do with these
It felt
ones.
wrong to go off tangent.
Yeah, like, oh, we're not talking about the topic, we need to stop and let's get back on course. Yeah. Whereas with these ones that we've been doing, it's kind of like, it is definitely more authentic and more genuine because... yeah, we have our little notes that we took and shit to talk about, but like, I mean, probably a quarter of the podcast, at least every time we've done these has been just, oh, I thought of this because you thought of this, or because you started talking about this, I thought of this different topic, and we'll bring up topics that I don't even have written down, or we'll talk about, like, we'll go off on 20-minute tangents on what we thought was what we were going to talk about, and it ends up being something else.
I don't know. I've just definitely enjoyed and felt so much better about the way that we've been doing. And I think that's just, I mean, I would assume that you would be feeling the same way.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so much better of a way to go about things rather than trying to force information onto people or onto ourselves.
Yeah. And like with those ones too, it was kind of like, it was more anxiety inducing because it was like, fuck, am I going to have enough information to talk for 2 hours today about this? And now it's kind of just like I have topics that I didn't put down for this week's that I have ready for next week just because I had so much shit that I found that I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is really interesting, that I had to save some shit for next week.
It could go on forever.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
Who cares? If you are successful, what difference will it make? Like, who cares about what you're talking about? I feel like there's definitely the people around us so
Yeah,
far.
people we told.
There's definitely been some reach. The people that care about oil sectors care about us. We're in their heads.
Yeah. Other than that, honestly, if you want my opinion, I don't care. Who cares?
Yeah.
Now that we're so, I mean, this, like we said, 14 weeks. The beginning, I would say I care. Who cares? But now I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't care. Who cares?
Yeah. If we are successful, what difference will it make?
I think the difference is it'll open doors for us to learn from people that we really want to learn from, and we're, you know, like, find those topics that are we want to find that expert for.
Yeah.
I think that's what will come from being a little bit more successful.
Yeah.
And also just fulfilling our goal of understanding things a little bit better than we were at the start.
I think I'm going to DM Ryan Reynolds on Twitter and try to get him on. What's it like to be Deadpool?
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Beautiful man.
10 out of 10. Ryan Goddard.
That's it?
He broke the scale. Yeah. Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. If you ever ask a man what man he would date and he says Ryan Reynolds, he is never lying. Like, if you were gay and you were gonna date a man, who would it be? Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are the risks of the podcast?
So with being authentic, I think that can push people that don't believe in the same thing as you away.
Yeah.
For example, like, we say something that someone doesn't like, they could either come at us or, you know, push us away or
Unfollow.
stuff like that. But not everything is for everybody. I think it comes with it. Obviously, we are putting ourselves out there. You put yourselves out there to criticism.
Yeah.
But you have to take risks. Like, I mean, I could put it in a more like a business sense. We could maybe not get a job because of some things that we say.
Yeah.
Which is very possible. But I don't know. I think not that we're not saying anything actually like super controversial.
Yeah.
It's just things that, like, thoughts that we have. And if they don't hire us or they don't want to have us a part of their company for whatever reason because of something we said, you wouldn't want to be a part of that company anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, with the people pushing us away, like, if they're not intelligent enough to absorb an opinion that they don't necessarily agree with, if they can't accept that someone may have an opposite opinion of them, then it's not worth it for them to be around either.
Mm-hmm.
How much will it cost? Which is, I mean,
depends.
Yeah, it depends on what we want to do.
At the start, I'm trying to think at the start, it didn't cost anything.
Yeah, but then I bought
True.
a mic. We bought that. We split that.
Yeah. So, I mean, costs I would say they're relatively low right now.
Yeah.
I did unfortunately have to buy a phone. Not that was for the podcast specifically, but then that goes back to the one where it's like you can only buy a certain camera that does a certain lens or whatever, like does a certain quality, or a mic that has a certain quality.
Yeah.
You technically don't need anything unless if you have a phone. If you literally have a phone, we could literally just be doing it with a phone now. It's just we have what we currently already had.
Yeah.
So it could cost nothing, but right now it's obviously we can't give you a number to be exact.
Yeah.
No, there is stuff that I do want to invest in to make maybe the audio a little bit better, the room a little bit more soundproof, but in the end it does also go back to I just want to have good conversation that's interesting.
Yeah.
And you can't buy that.
Yeah, exactly.
Priceless.
How long will it take? That one's kind of an open-ended question. I feel like we can't really say how long.
Yeah. I mean, how long? I mean, yeah, especially because like, how long? What will it take for us to understand the world and ourselves? Maybe never.
Yeah. Innate Domain podcast 13,472 is when we'll reach true enlightenment.
I don't think we'll be alive
that
in
would be like
13,000 weeks.
Yeah, that would be like 500-600 years.
It'd be a long time.
And the last question is
250.
what are 200? That's it.
250 is 13,000.
What are the midterm and final? See, that's crazy because I was thinking a quarter in my head and I didn't know why, because I can do math really, really easily in my head, but I wasn't thinking hard enough to do it right there, so I had to kind of just spit a number out. But in my head, I was like, you should say a quarter, and I'm like, why the fuck? Why would I say a quarter? And that's why. What are the midterm and final exams to check for success? I think it's just kind of.
I feel like, midterm, obviously, that's hard to say. Midterm would be like, if we're going to do 20 episodes,
midterm would be 10.
But and also depends on what our idea of success is.
Yeah.
Because we could maybe every 20 episodes be like, okay, let's sit down and think about what we like about the show and what we don't like and what we should change. So maybe that's like a midterm thing. Maybe once we hit that 20 episodes that we sit down and be like, what do you think we should change? What do you think we should do better? Should we, fix this, change this, invest into this, blah, 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 blah.
But I also don't you can have a lot of those midterm checks, but I don't think you can really have a final exam because we don't know when it's going to end.
I think at some point we would have to, we would do a sit down and be like, do we still enjoy this?
Yeah.
And if we do, then that's all we need to know, because having conversations with people or even just each other, I think is very important.
Yeah.
And you should technically never
stop
talking to someone.
Yeah.
There's how many people in the world, like, there's never really going to be a final exam or midterm exam or whatever that it's going to tell us, yep, that's it, we're good.
Yeah. And like I said, like, all of these aren't necessarily clear cut. You can put them into any scenario, but a lot of them you can use them as checks for a lot of things.
I'm trying to think. There was another thing that I heard. Damn, I forget. I don't know, but it's like one of those things that makes you rethink, and you're like, okay, maybe if I apply this somehow, that'll help me get further in this way. But I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But flipping the script, this is going into one of my wonderful random topics of the day. So, did you know that the Icelandic Vikings hunted blue whales in the 1350s? I'd love to teach you about it.
Okay.
Well, it's actually even prior to the 1350s. It says, there's evidence that researchers have found that shows that Icelanders have been hunting whales as far back as the 9th century, and blue whales more than any of the other whales. And what I found super interesting in this article was that one animal could yield 60 tons of meat, the equivalent to 3,000 lambs, and according to a 13th century Norse text, was reportedly better for eating and smells better than any of the other fishes. And then this is it's all from the same article, and it's just something that I also found was interesting. Through her research, her name was something Saibo, learned that by the 13th century, Icelanders were so dependent on whales that they wrote complicated laws to establish how washed up whales were divvied up. A whale's size, how it died, and who owned the property where it beached all determined who got a share of the whale meat. Portioning also depends on who secured it to the shore. If an Icelander saw a dead whale floating in the sea, they were legally obligated to find a way to tether it out. And hunters not only marked their spears with their signature emblem, they also registered those emblems with the government, improving its chances that they could claim their lawful share of any whale they speared. In addition to consuming whale meat and blubber, Norse people used bones as tools, vessels, gaming pieces, furniture, and beams for roofs and houses, or roofs and walls. So, given this topic about, like, going back to the 1300s and surviving off of whale and trying to fight off starvation by fishing in the sea and stuff. I'm going to bring in like a hypothetical situation. If you're given a plane ride and you crash and end up on a deserted island, what would be the first thing you do, and how many days do you think you'd survive?
That's very subjective because it like, how big is the island? Is there...
Okay. Sons of the Forest. That island. That type of island.
Are there cannibals? Or just like an island like that? Because an island like that, I feel like...
No cannibals. Just animals. Yeah. Stuff that you would assume.
I mean, an island like that, I would definitely... I'd probably seek shelter first and then go try to find food. I'd go find rocks and sticks and try to make tools with what I can. Fucking take a rock, hit it with another rock, turn it into a spear so I could kill an animal with it, make food. Find old dead wood that I could use. If it's wet, try to get it dry as quick as possible because I need fire for warmth. I'd probably try to try to find a cave or something to stay in for the first night until I could start building myself a shelter outside. Maybe even just stay in the cave. But yeah, my top priorities would be food, clean water, and shelter. And I don't know. I feel like I could last at least a year. I like after a year, I feel like I'd kind of be like, fuck this. I don't want it. I don't want to survive anymore. But
yeah,
I think I could make it at least a year.
That's like my thing is all I think about when it comes to survival is just the games that I played when.
Yeah,
like exactly. Survival games. So obviously I don't think I would be able to put any of the stuff that I know to use. Like, I don't know if I could build a campfire. I really don't. I don't know if I could. I would probably try and find some. I don't think there's really any natural way to do it unless you try and find like flint and try and, I don't know, other than doing like the wood thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that though.
I mean,
so
you just need to generate enough friction on kindling. So like you'd take a bunch of dead leaves, put them under whatever, like say you built a little teepee out of sticks for your fire, and then you put a bunch of dried dead leaves underneath, and then you just whittle. I think you might whittle it onto a rock, and that will create friction and create heat, and that'll start the leaves on fire, and then that'll give you the rest of your fire.
Yeah, it's just I wonder how much my survival instinct would come into it, but I guess this is going back to the whales thing. I couldn't imagine getting in a boat and trying to spear a whale that
weighs 12,000 pounds.
Yeah, that's actually 60 tons is.
Oh, that's
120,000 pounds.
Yeah. 120,000.
Like, could you imagine having the balls to like? I don't know. I'm curious on what boats they also were.
It would be multiple ships, I'm pretty sure, and like 3 of them would tether and pull it back.
But like, dude, like you're just floating along one day heading home, and you see this big ass whale, and you're like, "Let's kill that thing," and just throw like a spear at it. Yeah, and then it washes up on shore. 120,000 pounds.
Yeah. Because I mean, I don't know if the whale would float after it died. Because
keep going. Sorry.
If the whale floated after it died, it's a lot easier to just stay tethered to it and pull it back to shore. But if it's going to sink, 120,000 pounds is definitely going to pull a boat of that time underneath.
So that was actually one of the things that was brought up in the article, because blue whales are known to sink after they're dead.
Yeah.
And they're also known to live further away from shore and really deep.
Yeah.
So in this article, it said that no other culture is known to have relied on blue whales so regularly. This is partially because blue whales typically live in the open ocean rather than close to shore, dive to depths of 315 meters, and tend to sink when they die. Then there's this technical challenge of the whale's imposing size. His name was Fraser, was involved in a necropsy of a blue whale that washed up near Halifax, Nova Scotia in 2021. She said it took researchers several days with heavy machinery to break down the animal, And she said, I'd never been waist deep in a whale until that event. So the idea was back then in the 1300s, or, I mean, what is the 9th century?
900? The 9th century would be
900?
800.
So
because we're in the 21st now.
Yeah, back then they have evidence that blue whales lived closer to shore. And as time passed and people started hunting them more, the population started to die down, and they were like, fuck this, we're not being by shore, we're going to live super far in the ocean and live really far down. And I find that super interesting because they literally killed off so many blue whales to be able to change the way they thought and lived, and they adapted to us. So there was another thing that said that so they ended up making blue whale hunting illegal in Iceland, I believe. But it says other nations soon follow in the footsteps of actually hunting whales, beginning to industrially hunt whales after that the slaughter of, like, in 1882 there was 32 blue whales that were trapped in an ice-filled cove in a town or a city in northwestern Ireland. And by the mid-20th century, the U.S., Japan, Russia, and elsewhere had likely wiped out 90% of the blue whale's population. It says Iceland no longer allows blue whale hunting, but commercial hunting is still legal. Iceland is the only country that allows whaling of the endangered fin whale, which is the second largest whale species.
It is really crazy that, like, 90% of animal species are just unanimously terrified of fucking humans. Like, they just know that we're the biggest threat to them.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting is I feel like most of these animals that are endangered, they don't really fight back.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, obviously that's the reason. But Neela showed me this fucking absolutely morbid video of how sharks end up on the bottom of the sea after they get,
finned.
Like, finned.
Yeah.
And they just, like, roll around.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah.
Like,
that's why
fucked up.
I don't think I'll ever eat shark fin soup because I've seen those videos and it's
so fucked up. And that's just insane.
Yeah.
That people can morally be okay with that.
Yeah.
Just finning a shark. I'm like, just kill it, dude. Like, just kill it. If you're gonna fin it, just fucking kill it.
Yeah. Don't let it fucking, because when that happens to a shark, they drown.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. Another thing that I also, like I said, I found a lot of fucking just medical shit this week that was crazy to me. So there's this company called Regeneron. The company was founded in 1988, but this is newer work. So do you know what gene therapy is?
No.
So gene therapy is genetic material is delivered to your cells and changes how your cells produce proteins. So they genetically modify you. Regeneron, so this was the headline of the article I was reading. Their latest DB-OTO results show dramatically improved hearing to normal levels from deaf in a child with profound genetic deafness within 24 weeks and initial hearing improvements in a second child at 6 weeks. So one of the kids was, like, the first kid that they did it with, he's been deaf or diagnosed as deaf since he was 11 months old. And he's now, he's a couple years old now. And in the 24 weeks that they've been doing this gene therapy study, they've improved his hearing from completely deaf to a normal level of hearing for that kid. And then the second kid is already at 6 weeks showing massive progression in his hearing. And it's just really crazy to me that they can do this and that they're starting to do this research with gene therapy, because gene therapy can also be used to, like, cure uncurable diseases. And there's just a lot that can be done with it.
Where do they get these genes, like, from?
I think it's like they create them in a lab. Yeah. Like, they modify your genome by, I don't know if they, like, take healthy genes from someone else and then put those in you, or they just create them. But it's literally modifying your genome as a human is what they do. Which it's crazy to think that all these things that, like deafness, for example, that we thought was never curable without like a hearing aid or a cochlear implant, is now being healed. Like we're fixing these problems that we thought were never going to be fixed.
Is this a new thing?
I mean, gene therapy has been in studies for a while, but like I think this company is one of the first companies to do this, if not the first, because these are still clinical studies, which means it's very, very new. And it's not something that I've ever seen before. But I had more for this, and I don't know what I did with it.
I obviously know it's not the same thing. It just kind of sounds like, just reminds me of like stem cells.
Yeah. I mean, it is similar. So with this is the line that I was trying to find. So both the children were born with profound genetic deafness due to variants of the autoferlin gene, which is, they have a genetic disorder, and the scientists basically went in and modified that gene to not make them deaf anymore.
How is that even possible?
I don't know, but it's very, like, it's crazy. Like, this goes back to the shit that I was talking about last week with, like, living forever. Because we're starting to hit that point now where there's fixing all these problems that have been problems for as long as man. And they're solving them.
Yeah, because I mean, in a way that kind of changes, but I wonder if you need to do this sort of therapy at a young age, because I feel like at some point, your genes are so set in stone that they no longer can be changed or adapted. I obviously just don't know what that like
entails.
Yeah, what it entails, or how those genes, like, do they take over the current gene that's there, or
I think they like physically, like, they're modifying your genome so that that gene is permanently modified and you don't have that issue anymore because the gene it's different now.
Like, what
I don't
kind
know
of microscopic level do they have to go to even be able to do that? Like, because that doesn't, I like, that's very interesting. I would love to know.
Probably like this big.
Just that big? Yeah. A little bit, maybe a little smaller?
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine understanding the science behind how someone's able to do that.
Yeah. Like, sciences like this are always, even though, like, it's very hard to grasp them, they are still always the most interesting to me, just because, I don't know, like, one thing that I've always wanted to do in life is discover something new. Like, find something that's never been done before. And I don't, like, it's, obviously that's very hard to do, but that's always been one of the most intriguing things to me. It's just, like, being the first person to discover that this is possible, or like this, it's not on as high of a level, I feel like, but like finding a new star or a new planet and discovering it.
Yeah.
Like, shit like that is just so intriguing to me.
Obviously, on like a medical sense, it's a little different, but when it comes to like a business sense, I think it's more of who can create the best thing out of something that's still currently unknown.
Yeah.
Or known to a small amount where it doesn't technically matter.
Yeah.
Because
like Steve Jobs and fucking Bill Gates back in the day, when they were the pioneers of basically computers.
Yeah. Well, that's even, I mean, I'm not sure if, I actually don't know if, I would assume somebody was probably making or trying to do the same thing that they were.
But they
just were able to do it
the best
and the fast enough and the quickest.
And that's why those are the two names that I said, because those are the only two you know of from that time. Mm-hmm. There was probably other people trying to do it, but they did it best.
What's interesting, though, is you look at, have you ever looked at like Bill Gates' childhood and how he was brought up?
Not 100%, no.
So in the Outliers book by Malcolm Gladwell, it goes and talks about how, in a way, lucky Bill Gates was to be born at a certain period of time and to be old enough at that period of time to, when the first computer came out, he was able to use it, but also it was like a 1 in a million chance that he had a computer at his given elementary school at the time that he was born, at the age that he was.
Yeah. So he was just lucky.
He was, in a way, he was lucky to be born at that specific time to be able to, he literally coded all day long for however many years because he was able to do it so early. And he was like coding things for people at like in high school as like a 15 or 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Because he had all the opportunity to create the things that people didn't have.
And that was shit that people didn't understand yet. It's crazy that you say that because I've thought about time and time and time again how if I was 8 years older, I'd probably be a millionaire. Because when I was, not necessarily 100%, but like when I was 10, 11, 12, I was always playing on Minecraft servers. I was a mod on like a Minecraft server. It was a prison mining server. And the guys in that server, they were all 18, 19, 20, 21. I don't know exactly, but they were older than me, and they were always talking about mining Bitcoin and getting Bitcoin. And I understood it, and I knew what it was. And I was like, I wish I could do that, but I didn't have the means available to me to either buy Bitcoin or mine it. And I think about now, like, I knew what Bitcoin was when it was like under $100 a Bitcoin. So imagine if I was working like I am now and I could have put $100 a week into Bitcoin back then when it was a whole Bitcoin instead of 0.00002 of a Bitcoin.
Yeah, it really is crazy how time, or when you're born or when you're, growing up, how it really can make or break or make the difference. But it also makes you think, what now are we not, I guess lucky to be a part of, that's going to be like, oh, I wish I was 24 in 2024.
Yeah, I feel like we could be. I feel like with that, it's a lot of it is becoming a social media star. I think our generation that's the big thing now.
Mm-hmm. I think I can agree and I disagree because it is easier than ever to find an audience and get an audience. But there's so many people on platforms now that if you did YouTube 10 years ago and you did a specific thing, your chance of doing something that was new was a lot higher than it was now.
Yeah, that is fair.
But I think it's very interesting to try and come up with something new. And maybe I think you should reframe it to, instead of trying to do something new, trying to, like I said at the beginning, do something that's currently in progress, but do it better.
Yeah.
Or just solve a solution that everybody has that no one has solved yet somehow. But that's hard to do. That's even harder to do nowadays too. Yeah. This also kind of leads into like another random topic. Do you ever like listen to a song and you
think about where they messed up on the lyrics, and it would have been better if they do this?
No, not that at all. Like, you're driving, you listen to a song, and you're like, I'm at 1 minute, 43 seconds. Do you think anyone else in this entire universe is listening to this song at 1 minute, 43 seconds, driving in the same car that I am, going to work, drinking the same drink that I am, and on and on and on? And it's like, I feel like it's possible. I feel like
the chances are very slim, but it is very possible. It is, I wouldn't say very possible, but I 100% think that's possible. Maybe not every day, but there's probably been times that it has happened.
Or it's kind of like, there's these videos that come up, and it's good night to everybody except for someone that has a green Stanley, someone's phone that is at 57%.
Yeah.
Someone who ate a chicken quesadilla for dinner.
Yeah.
Someone's gas tank who's at a quarter tank.
Yeah.
It's like stuff like that. And that makes, and people go crazy for that.
Yeah, because
So
they're like, what the fuck? I have a green Stanley. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy to think about. But you also have to think about the fact of, like, realistically, it would have to probably be someone, like, depending on the music you're listening to, it would have to be someone in, like, an American country or, like, Europe. But even then, the cultures are so different in so many different places that, like, unless you're listening to music that's more outside your country's culture, it's a lot less probable.
yeah, you can obviously make the thing that you're doing more probable than not. If you're listening to the top 100 songs on Spotify, you're guaranteed to have someone that's listening to that same song.
Yeah.
But this reminds me of when I was on my plane. This is a very small kind of not experiment or study, but like small group of people, I should say. When I was on my plane home from Mexico, 2 people started a movie at the exact same time.
Really?
There was someone to my right in the middle, and there was someone 5 rows in front of me on the right. They had the movie at the exact same point. I'm like, that's fucking crazy to think about. Yes, there's so many movies to pick on the plane that we were on. It's like a brand new United plane.
Yeah.
So many movies to pick, and they happened to pick Iron Claw, and they happened to start it at the same time.
On the same plane.
On the same plane.
That's crazy.
And I was like, I'm like, they're literally at the same fucking point in the movie. What are the chances?
Did you look at one with this eye and one with this eye just to make sure?
Yeah. But obviously that's, like I said, it's a smaller group and everyone's looking at the same movies, but
it's still crazy.
There's still movies A to Z. There's still 100 plus movies. There's still 100 people plus on that plane. And they have to choose the exact same movie at the exact same time.
Yeah. I wonder if there's 2 people recording a podcast that's similar to ours right now somewhere in the world.
Mm-hmm. Please let us know.
Yeah. We'll follow you if you follow us. Sure. SFS, shout out for shout out.
Follow for follow.
Speaking of podcast, I saw this tweet, and honestly, because this was at like 3 a.m. last night. It was from a guy named Duke Landstander, Jack Lancaster's brother. But yeah, no, his name's Duke Landstander, and he has a podcast called Generative Energy. And this was the entire tweet. And I know you know a lot more about this type of stuff, so I wanted to ask you. He tweeted, "It takes 12 grams of salt daily to prevent activation of the serotonin system." Do you know anything about that?
To like the gram amount, no, but I can.
It's about 2 tablespoons.
That's a lot.
But think about
there's no way that's 12 tables. There's no way that's 12 grams. Like there's no way 12 grams is 2 tablespoons. That's a lot of salt.
Hold on. Or 2 teaspoons maybe.
I feel like 2 tablespoons is. I mean, I guess it could possibly be 12 grams to activate the serotonin system.
Yeah. I Googled the question because I wanted to learn more about it a little bit, and I'll show you what I Googled in a minute. Ten grams of salt is 1.575 teaspoons. So 2 teaspoons, not 2 tablespoons.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I always confuse those two. So it's about 2 teaspoons of salt is 12 grams. And apparently that prevents activation of the serotonin system in your body. And the only thing that I could find looking this up was like a medical page article, and it said, according to NCBI, human and animal studies suggest that an unresolved sodium appetite can cause behavioral characteristics similar to psychological depression. These cravings can also change the regions of the brain that are involved in motivation, reward, drug sensitization, and withdrawal. For example, a University of Iowa researcher found that when rats are deficient in sodium chloride, they avoid activities they normally enjoy. Salt restriction stimulates the serotonin serotonergic system in man. Stimulation of the system in conjunction with the sympathetic nervous system may contribute to renal sodium conservation during dietary salt restriction in men. So it's saying that, like, if you eat too much salt and then don't eat salt, it can make you depressed, basically. You can be very addicted to salt.
Well, I mean, sodium is a vital nutrient to your body, electrolyte.
Yeah.
And I do, as a supporter, think everyone should start their morning with some sort of electrolyte. I don't have any evidence or whatever off the top of my head that it's going to start your serotonin system. But I know that when you wake up, you shouldn't consume caffeine for 90 minutes because your adenosine, which is what caffeine acts on, isn't active.
Yeah.
So if you wake up and have some sort of coffee right away, you're going to get absolutely zero benefit from it because your adenosine system isn't awake, but your adenosine system acts on salt.
So if you wake up and drink a glass of salt water,
it's going to be more beneficial and you're going to feel more energized than you would if you were to wake up and drink coffee.
Yeah.
So I'm honestly not very familiar with how it affects serotonin.
Yeah.
I've never honestly looked into it, but I would say that it is beneficial to drink salt at least a little bit in the morning. 12 grams, like I looked up how much salt is in a packet of salt, and I do 2 packets of salt every morning, and it's 10 grams of salt. So it's about what the amount would be. It is something you need to get used to. I would say that my mood I do feel a lot better when I drink electrolytes in the morning because your body is, filtering out them or losing them as you sleep and breathe.
Yeah.
So replenishing your body with water and hydration is very important. I think that in itself can help your serotonin system because most people, I would say, aren't hydrated to begin with. And I think just hydration in general will be able to get your mood up, make your body feel a little bit better. So
hydration it's life-changing.
Mm-hmm.
This kidney stone has opened my eyes to hydration, and it's crazy. Like, I don't even want to drink sugary drinks anymore. I have no urge to. It's been over a month since I've had a lot of, like, sugary drinks, like multiple a day, over drinking water, and it's been about a week since I've had any sugar beverage at all. Anything with any sort of sugar. I've only had water. And I mean, today I was really tired, but I think that was just Chad ate. All right, this is going to be a little tangent. So yesterday, I'll start with the first story, actually. Like 2 weeks ago, my dad was cooking on the Blackstone. He was cooking Chinese food. If you've been in my backyard, we have the main back door and then the side door in the back.
Yeah.
And the side door in the back, there's the brick steps, and then there's the Blackstone here and the grill facing this way, and then the AC unit next to the grill. Mm-hmm. You know how, like, the grills will have that little table on the side to put shit on?
Yeah.
That table is right next to the AC unit. So 2 weeks ago, Chad jumped on the stairs, jumped on the AC unit, and got a quarter stick of butter and ate it in the middle of the yard. So yesterday, my dad was like, okay, well, he got it off here last time. I'm going to put it on top of the grill. There's no way he jumps onto the AC unit, onto the grill side to get up onto the top of the grill and eat the cheese. Because he had cheese. He would take a slice, break it in two again, stack 2 slices together. And he was making smash burgers, and a stack of 2/4 of a slice of cheese were on each burger. Chad got on the grill and ate 8 of those. So he ate 4 full slices of cheese. He woke me up to shit at like 3 in the morning, and then woke me up to shit again at like 7:45, and then had to go out and piss at like 9. So I was exhausted today, but other than today, I feel like I've been waking up with a lot more energy.
What would you say, like, I guess we talked about your caffeine consumption before, but would you wake up early and have some sort of caffeine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, usually it would be about 90 minutes because I'd wake up get ready for work. That would take me half an hour to 40 minutes. And then I'd drive to work, which is another half an hour to 40 minutes. So if I made a drink right when I got there, I was pushing it on it being 90 minutes. But usually it was at least 90 minutes into my day that I'd have caffeine.
You know, it's interesting, though, because I've heard that if you're going to do some exercise, like right when you wake up, it's actually okay to use some sort of like pre-workout or caffeine. So I don't exactly know how that works. You definitely should still start your day with some sort of water with a little bit of salt in it.
Yeah.
But I don't know how. I mean, obviously, it's technically it's okay to take pre-workout and caffeine. Like you're not gonna. You just might not get as much benefit from it if you were to wait. But I don't know. I think I would also. I kind of want to look into how that affects or what actually happens within the first 90 minutes of waking up with
that caffeine doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, finding those simple things has made, I don't know, I do think sometimes when I wake up personally and let's say I wait 90 minutes and I go to the gym, let's say I wake up at 8:30, go to the gym at 10, drink a energy drink or a pre-workout on the way there, I have been finding myself to still be yawning in the gym. Yeah. So I feel like my body has made maybe like a tolerance to consuming caffeine at a specific time that it's like, okay, you're still going to consume this, but you're still going to be tired. Sorry. So that's why I also have been thinking I don't really need to take it because why would I take it if it's not really going to have that much benefit to me?
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's been also like a personal thing. Like sometimes I'll forget that I don't drink anything. And I'll get to lunch after and be like, oh, fuck, I didn't drink any caffeine. I can have like a whole ass latte right now. That's awesome. Like it makes me, it's like a sense of accomplishment, which is so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But
it's still,
I can enjoy whatever it is knowing that I'm not even going to get close to the recommended daily amount of caffeine.
Yeah, you're not going to hit your 450.
Yeah, which I honestly, I don't think I really ever do. I mean, I probably hit 350 plus.
Really quick. Let's see.
350 through around 350 ish.
I think it was. Oh no. My max caffeine in a day was 1,650 milligrams. Because I did 22 shots of blonde espresso. Actually, okay, hold on. I think I needed to take like 220 off of that, though, because they were Ristretto shots, which they lose.
Oh, they do?
10 milligrams of caffeine in a Ristretto shot. So that would be minus 220. So 1,400.
Oh.
1,430.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. That was... It was like... It was crazy, though. Like, I felt so, like... just wired and, like... I don't even know how to describe it. It was insane. But I felt like shit after, so I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
But for that, like, 2 hours of the caffeine rush, it was, like, the craziest experience ever. I felt like I could do anything. Because that was the first time I had ever really had a heavy caffeine rush.
I can't believe I used to take 400 milligrams of caffeine at
just a
4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, a scoop of fucking
work.
Fucking Rise.
It was Rise.
Yeah,
Baja
Rise.
Blast.
Yeah. The Baja Breeze.
Dude, I was still feeling it at work. I'm like, holy shit. Like making drinks and stuff.
Yeah.
Going nuts.
Yeah, for that first 2 hours.
Yeah, like, oh God, it was bad. I don't know. I can't believe I was doing that to get like mediocre gains.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go get a black Americano after this. A black Americano with like cream. Just no sugar.
I just drink a black cold brew during this one.
Americanos are better.
I remember I put you on Americanos too.
I know. You did. You're like, if you're going to drink a cold brew, just make it as Americano. Or I think you told me to do that one day that we were out of cold brew. And I was like, holy fuck, this is much better.
Yes.
And now I pull the espresso over a full cup of ice, swirl it so that the ice melts into it, and it makes the quality of the Americano even better. and it's great. Next time you come in and ask me for cold brew, I'm gonna make you one of those without telling you and see if you notice the difference.
I definitely noticed the difference for sure. I know the difference between espresso and
Okay, well,
cold
yeah,
brew.
okay, that would be bad to do to you because you know fucking coffee, but.
So what's going to coffee? What is your favorite drink that you would currently, if you had, I want to really enjoy this today, what would you go in and get?
A vanilla iced Americano with some sort of cream, milk, oat milk, anything to make it not black.
Was there a previous favorite drink before that?
My favorite drink, no, I will say that is always my favorite drink because I make so many weird different combinations of drinks that it's hard for me to pick a favorite. But when I really think about it, the one I drink most is a blonde vanilla iced Americano.
I don't know if I've ever tried that.
It's just a blonde vanilla iced
probably
Americano
have,
with a splash of like cream
Yeah.
or heavy cream or 2%. It's fantastic.
I mean, my go-to. It's a vanilla sweet cream cold brew, no vanilla,
With
6 pumps of brown sugar. I'm trying to think of what else I used to get. I used to get a venti cafe vanilla frappuccino with cold brew instead of frap roast.
Uncut cold brew. Those
with
are
frap chips.
Yeah, I make a blonde vanilla frappuccino too. That's really good. Where I do blonde shots of espresso, vanilla syrup, heavy cream, frap chips, and then I'll put whip on the bottom with caramel crunch topping and whip on the top with caramel crunch topping. And it's great.
I want to try strawberry acai with raspberry pearls because they got rid of the raspberry syrup. So it's probably gas. It's probably really good.
Yeah, I can't drink that right now, but that does sound good.
But for me, like, I love getting mugs from places. But for example, I have the Chicago one. I have the Berlin one. I think that's a Guadalajara one in there as well. But I never use them because I don't make coffee at home. I would make coffee at home. Once I have my own place, I definitely will have probably an espresso machine like you do, or I don't know about a Keurig. No, or I definitely will make cold brew at home for sure.
Yeah, get a cold brewer and an espresso machine. Fuck a Keurig.
Yeah, so true, but I like the idea of having mugs and thinking about one day I'm going to have a cabinet full of mugs that I can pull out and drink my morning coffee after 90 minutes.
I love watching the videos of let's go get a house and get split a fucking Brayville espresso machine because I love the videos of people with the sifter and they tamp it and then they sift through it. And I've seen people put real brown sugar on top of the shot and pull that through the shot, and that makes it very, very rich and sweet apparently.
Damn, I'm actually pissed. I went to Mexico and I didn't get any coffee. Now that I think about it, I was supposed to grab some and make cold brew out of it.
Oh, like beans?
Yeah, get some beans, grind it, make some cold brew out of it. Dude, coffee is great.
I love coffee.
I honestly forget that I actually like black cold brew.
I'm not a big I'll drink black cold brew, but I prefer a black Americano over black cold brew.
It just sometimes you just want some brown sugar or something in it. But
yeah.
I also that's what another one of my favorites is literally a vanilla latte with you take a raw sugar packet and you just pour it over the top, and as it goes down you just keep pour it over the top and just sip it, and it's so good. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. No, those are my two favorite. I actually used to not like iced coffee at all. I would only drink hot, and then or I would fall you can't drink hot coffee in the summer, or you can't drink cold coffee in the winter.
I don't drink hot coffee ever.
I literally never drink hot coffee now because I like cold brew so much.
Yeah.
And are you a coffee master?
Yeah.
It's crazy how there's a whole science around it too.
It is, yeah. Have you done...
I've not. I've only done...
You can download the app on your phone, and it's called Starbucks Global Academy, and some of it is really interesting. They teach you about, the fucking origins of coffee, how back in, way back when the fucking farmer observed his fucking his goats would go eat the beans off this one tree, and they'd have so much energy and jump around and be playful for 6 or 7 hours, and then they'd crash and just sleep. And he fucking went and grabbed these beans and made the first rough batch of coffee, and that's how it was discovered.
That's why I want to get some coffee from, what is it, like South America or
Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Anywhere close to the equator, pretty much, it's good. I mean, you can go to I want to say Ethiopia or somewhere in Africa was the origin of coffee. And then most coffee is derived from like Ethiopian and African coffee, because there was like whoever got there first and started exporting it around the world like thousands of years ago, fucking he made it so that like certain beans couldn't leave certain places and really, really, really regulated it. And like the only beans that got out that were grown elsewhere were because they were smuggled out. They teach you about all that. It's been a while, so I don't remember the story exactly, but it is really interesting to read through.
Yeah, when we were in Cozumel, we did a tequila tasting, which is something that you would never expect me to say.
No.
So
it was
the
gross,
tour that,
wasn't it?
huh?
It was gross, wasn't it?
No, it was good.
Oh.
It was actually good. So the tour that we went on was a Jeep tour around the whole island, because the island itself is only like 30 miles wide, 40 miles long.
Yeah.
So you did like whatever. We drove around the island, but the first thing that we did was a tequila tasting. We tasted 8 different tequilas, and he taught us the history behind that specific tequila and how long it would sit.
And then you got behind the wheel.
Dude. And then, so it was tequila tasting. I'll get into it. So he taught us showed us how big, I think it was like the agave fruit would get that they would use for this certain taste in the tequila. And then it would sit for, I think he said 12 years in the barrel. And then that was like the most expensive one. It would sit like 12 years in the barrel, and then they would produce it.
Yeah.
And ended up being like $275 a bottle. After we did the tequila tasting, the next part was when we get to jump in the cenote. But to get to the cenote, we had to drive an ATV.
So were you just hammered driving?
No, so to preface, it wasn't like he gave us like 1 cup of a mixed drink. It was like a half tequila with some sort of like soda,
yeah,
and lime with some like a salt rim. And then he gave us probably like a tablespoon cup, and he would fill it like maybe a fifth of the way up for the 8 that we tried.
Yeah.
So it was like we tried 1, and the rest of the 8 was like maybe like a fifth of a tablespoon.
Yeah.
So like
just
I didn't feel it at all.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, like I just thought it was funny that literally you did a tequila tasting. Who knows? Like people probably go crazy at that sometimes. So can I try this? Can I try this? And then they go on an ATV ride.
Yeah.
Like I was like, that's fucking crazy. Drinking and driving is nuts. But that was cool though. I thought, honestly, I never used to be interested in the history of places that I would go and visit. But now I feel like learning and actually being interested in learning about wherever I go, especially like the tequila tasting was something I didn't want to do to begin with, because I was like, oh, I don't really want to drink.
Yeah.
But learning the history behind it, we also learned how they made tortillas and how they made chocolate.
Yeah.
So just learning that stuff is cool, and where it comes from is really interesting, and how it's actually all made is super cool.
It's funny that you say that, because there's literally times that, like, you know how you'll be driving through like a town, just anywhere, and you'll see those little like plaques that show history of the town, or like it'll just have a random thing on there to learn about.
Mm-hmm.
I've literally pulled over to read those signs before.
Really?
Yeah, because I just like learning random shit like that.
I don't know where my, like, it's not even like a hate. It's just like maybe before I just didn't care to spend the time to learn about certain things.
Yeah.
But
It's
now,
not a hate, it's just a dissident towards it.
Yeah, or I feel like it's just in general, like I feel like if you're going to go somewhere, learning about the place that you're going is important, because then you understand why certain things are certain ways, and it just makes everything kind of correlate so much better.
Yeah.
And you know, I really want to take up Jack's offer of us taking a trip to Jamaica.
I want to go too.
Like that sounds like so much fun.
Jack's been asking me to go to Jamaica with him for at least 5 years.
That would be so sweet, dude. Like, I do want to have a trip where we all go do something. Doesn't have to be Jamaica, but camping.
We could take
fishing.
You said monthly dinners. We could also take a yearly trip or bi-yearly trip.
That would be cool. Plan it out, stay in a house, whatever.
Yeah.
Budget it out, have a good time.
Should come on the houseboat fishing trip this year.
When is that?
That one is probably going to be in September, but last year it was 10 of us on a boat with the equivalent living space of this bedroom. And we literally had like a little kitchen with a sink, a microwave, a stove, and it was all within the size of this table.
Wow.
And then you could walk. There was a bunk area upstairs with 2 beds, and then you went down the stairs, and there was 2 beds under the stairs. That's where I slept. I couldn't even sit up. I'd have to roll and turn and then crawl out because there wasn't room for me to sit up in the bed. And there was me and Austin were under there, and then there was 2 more beds on the wall here, and 2 more beds right next to the back door to get out the back of the boat. And then we also had. Huh?
Was it enjoyable?
Oh, yeah, because we didn't spend much time on the boat. It was just to eat and sleep. Otherwise, we were all out in our canoes fucking fishing on the lake. But it was fucking... That is a hard first fishing experience. Because it's... If you're not there with the intent to fucking... I mean, a lot of it is just... You wake up, you fucking eat breakfast, and then you fill your fucking cup with alcohol and start drinking, and you go fish for 8 hours. You go fish for 3 hours. Like, you start drinking at 7:30 in the morning, you go fish for 3 or 4 hours, come back, eat lunch, go fish until sundown, come back, eat dinner, and just, like, party. So it's...
Sounds like a crazy time.
It is. But honestly, that was one of my favorite trips I've ever been on because I caught a 36-inch northern pike, which is a 3-foot long fish. It weighed probably 15 pounds. If you want to put it in the video, I'll send a picture of me holding it. So that
I think I remember seeing that picture actually.
Yeah,
I feel like I've definitely seen
my
that
grandpa
picture.
in the background. Yeah, we got to put it on the screen for them.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
So I guess staying on the topic of expeditions. Not that I guess that's a fishing expedition. I read an article about body retrieval from Mount Everest. And now I think just like to preface it, there's like a few things I want to go into in terms of how you even get to the point of climbing Mount Everest, which is pretty crazy just for like the normal person. So obviously you have to be 18 to do it. And the 2 biggest barriers are money and fitness. It says that it costs anywhere between $30,000 to $100,000 plus. And foreigners must buy an $11,000 permit from the Nepalese government. Other substantial costs include travel, gear, oxygen, and weeks of food and camping while acclimatizing to the base camp, which is set at 17,600 feet. And you basically pay a guide to bring you up the mountain.
They're called Sherpas.
Sherpas. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sherpas. And most guides earn about $6,000 per expedition, but the range is broad from camp cooks, perhaps like $2,500 for those, and to lead guides, which is like around $10,000. And according to the New York Times, most climb Everest from the Nepal side, from Kathmandu, Nepal's bustling capital. Mountaineers take a short flight from Lukla and then trek about 10 days to the Everest Base Camp, which is again at 17,600 feet. Most will spend weeks there in the spring, acclimating to the altitude, with rest and days of hiking, and waiting for the route to Everest to like open up in May.
Yeah.
So the article that I read was talking about how this group of Nepalese soldiers are going to pretty much get 5 bodies from Mount Everest, only 5, which is absolutely crazy because it says that there is. It says a study by BBC placed an estimate of bodies left on Mount Everest at more than 200, where the highest concentration of bodies lies between Camp 4 at 26,600 feet and the summit, which is less than 3,000 feet from the top.
Yeah, there's a lot of bodies that are landmarks for the climb.
Yeah. And so their goal for this was they have two goals, was bringing closure to loved ones back home and making the route up to Everest more palatable for future generations of climbers. It says that Army Major Aditya Karki told Outside, which is the article that I read, seeing a dead body on Everest is gruesome. Last year, a number of clients were distressed by passing the bodies of dead climbers on their climb. This can have a long-lasting psychological effects and impact their well-being, which we want to prevent. So, obviously, seeing dead bodies is not normal, so people are going to get affected by it, and I think it's insane that people do use bodies as kind of checkpoints to moving up the mountain.
Yeah.
But obviously, their goal is to remove 5 bodies. But they said these missions are extremely expensive due to manpower and gear needed to survive in that environment. Karki estimates the price tag for the 2024 mission to between $75,000 and $80,000 per body, and believes that the total cost of the expedition, which will also remove garbage from higher camps, to exceed $600,000.
Wow, for 5 bodies.
For 5 bodies,
that's crazy.
And there was I think at the beginning of the article, it said that they initially tried to save someone or save a body or get bodies in 2019, but someone ended up dying while they went and got one of the bodies.
And they added another one.
And they had to pretty much leave that body where it was, go up and get that one, bring it down, and then go back up and get the body again, because it's so difficult to carry bodies down at the altitude at where they're left at.
Yeah.
Because it's so difficult to even do anything at the altitude of 26,000 feet.
Yeah.
And I just find that super...
You're pretty much in the atmosphere at that point.
And it's crazy how they have like a whole, not like a science, but a whole game plan to do certain things. And it makes sense, though, because of how dangerous it is. So my question to you, based on this information, is what do you think the biggest risk you would take to discover something what is the biggest risk you would take to discover something knowing that not many others would follow in your footsteps?
I mean, it would depend on how passionate I am about that something. Like, you look at all the people, like, there's a famous photo taken by a photographer at Mount St. Helen that they found his camera, but he didn't make it out because it was such a massive explosion that he died. He didn't make it down the mountain in time. He's like, I'm just going to sit here and take my pictures. And I feel like if I had something that I was that passionate about, I would definitely hit that point too, because my name would live on with what I did. But I mean, it would really depend. Like climbing Mount Everest is one thing that has always intrigued me. I don't know if I'd go to those lengths, just because that's like one of the hardest things to do and very expensive. But I mean, like, we've talked about like the fucking cold plunge in Lake Michigan, and that not many people would do that. I feel like, yeah, there's plenty of people that do it, but 9 out of 10 people that hear you say you're gonna do that are like, you're fucking crazy, not let me go do it with you. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there are great lengths I would go to do things that not many other people would do, as long as I'm passionate about it.
I think something that I don't know exactly, like I can't say like, oh, I'm going to go here and I want to do this. And I don't think I would climb Mount Everest, but I do think if there was a point where I could jump off of like a waterfall, like kind of like when Jack was saying he was going to jump into the water, but he like kind of held onto the thing and like swing back and forth. Yeah. I think that would be super sweet. I think heights I've never like been super afraid of heights, but it's really nerve-wracking to be at a really high height looking down at the water. But especially like when we jumped into that like cenote thing, that was probably only like maybe 5 meters, maybe 6 meters. It's not even that tall, but that makes you excited to do stuff more like that, because you know most people probably wouldn't even do that much.
Yeah. I had absolutely zero fear of heights and water until I was like 12, and I went off the 10-meter dive at Meineke and landed in a sitting position and couldn't walk for like a week.
God.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because I think at 10 meters it feels like concrete.
Yeah.
Pretty sure when you
And
fall.
I landed on my ass. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
and I was able to get myself out of the water, but I literally had to like lay on the ground for like half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It was rough.
Yeah, I used to watch. It was Brian Kirschbaum's brother.
Yeah, Eric.
He used to go off of it and just dead man fall and land perfectly on his like toes pointed right into the water. I'm like, dude, how is that even possible? Like, I don't know if I would do anything crazy. I think even if I just jump straight off,
You'd still fuck
I
up.
would
That's what I did.
still somehow like twist in a certain way or fall, dude. Oh God, I couldn't imagine like hitting my face or like belly flopping.
Yeah.
But I do think at some point, I would love to do skydiving.
Skydiving was fucking awesome. That was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. I have the video too. Pay for the video. It's worth it. I'll go again. I've been telling Maddie that I want to go skydiving again, and she's like, I will never fucking do that with you. I'll watch, but no chance I do it with you. Would Neela go?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we can have Maddie record us from the ground while us three jump out of a plane.
Yeah, aren't you not allowed to bring like a GoPro though? You have to pay for.
Yeah, you have to pay for theirs, I'm pretty sure. But I mean, it's like an extra $100 maybe, but the footage is good and they edit it all for you, and there's like 300 or 400 pictures and an entire video for the entire thing from you walking out to the plane, getting on the plane, in the plane, jumping out, and on the ground. So it's a full video they make you for it.
Huh. Yeah, definitely something I want to do. I feel like I would want to do that. I don't know though.
You want to do it somewhere else, right?
Well, yeah, but then it comes to like safety wise, I feel like
Like Skydive Chicago in Peru, down south of me. It's probably an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours from here. They are really good.
Yeah.
That's where I went.
I just feel like I'd feel most safe at somewhere in the States just because it's so regulated.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know how other places are regulated with that type of stuff, but you just know here it's going to be
safe.
Yeah.
Safer than if you go to a different country.
Yeah. But yeah, that's I'm trying to think of what else I would do. Scuba diving.
That's another one I'd like to do.
Scuba diving would be sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think skydiving, scuba diving, jumping off a waterfall, maybe.
Go over the Niagara Falls in a barrel.
Oh, you're dead.
Some people have survived it.
People have survived, but you're probably dead.
It's a low chance of survival.
Yeah. Maybe get thrown 100-mile-an-hour baseball at me and trying to hit it, maybe.
Yeah, that's another great feat of human.
Yep. Trying to think what else I would do.
Parasailing.
Parasailing would be cool.
Is that the one where you're fucking 200 feet above the water
Yeah.
flying? Yeah, I want to
so.
do that.
I'm
a fucking adrenaline junkie.
Dude.
I love
it. Just also reminds me of like tubing and how I'm pretty sure tubing like isn't allowed anymore.
What do you mean?
Like boat tubing. Have you ever done like boat tubing?
Where you're on the back of the boat? It's allowed. I've done that in Kentucky, yeah.
Oh, but dude, it's so fucking dangerous.
It's so dangerous, but it's so fun.
Like I remember doing it as a kid and we were going fast and we were using this big ass thing. And I like stayed on, but if you fall off, you are fucked.
I've fallen off.
Yeah, but it hurts like a motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it does.
Some people die because like some people, these people were probably being really stupid. I don't remember exactly what the stories were, but they would hit like a wave and they would go up and smash and then they just like break everything and they'd be dead.
Yeah.
So obviously you have to be smart about it. But tubing was something that I loved doing when I was younger.
Yeah. Tubing. You went cliff diving, you said, in Mexico? Or was it?
It was like it was called like a cenote and there was just like a hole and you jumped into like the water that was below it.
Oh.
It's like kind of like an underground cavern. Cavern with like a hole in the top, and then you just jump into the cavern.
How do you get out?
You just it was made for tourists pretty much, so they just put like a ladder. Yeah, okay. They put a ladder, you climb up and then you go up and into the wilderness and just like jump in through the hole. But it smelled terrible because it was a bat cave. Oh. So there was like
shit everywhere.
Bat shit in the water everywhere. I mean, it was deep enough where you couldn't touch it, but it smelled like rotten eggs. So you were swimming in pretty much like bat shit.
Yeah. Because
But it was cool.
I've jumped off of cliffs in Kentucky into like Nolan Lake, where you walk up through the woods and you have to find your way through the woods, and then you come off on the cliff, and it's like a 40 foot drop into the water, and that was fucking invigorating. But it was scary too.
I think rock climbing would be cool too.
Like free climbing, or
No,
not free, but like actual, not like going to
like
a rock climbing place and climbing with the
like actual rock climbing.
Yeah.
When I went to Devil's Lake in high school, I wasn't rock climbing, but like they have rocks like over pretty high up in the air over the water, and I would be like jumping from rock to rock. Not that it would be like a far distance, but I would just be like doing parkour across rocks. And I mean, not that that's rock climbing, but I do think being able to climb up to a certain point and look down and see that you're 100 feet in the air.
Yeah, hanging upside down like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Tim does that a lot, and that
yeah.
shit is very interesting.
Yeah. But I don't know, there's so many, I feel like there's just a lot of things that you have to, oh look, that's available, I'm gonna go do that. But I think on the top of my list, skydiving, scuba diving's cool. Accessible wise, I mean, obviously skydiving's pretty accessible. Scuba diving is, you need some sort of certification here, at least you need to get a certification at certain levels.
Yeah.
And they're pretty expensive to do. And then just like paying for oxygen, paying for gear itself is expensive.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think that's my list.
Yeah, those are, I mean, I want to do a lot of shit like that.
I just want to spend so much more time outdoors.
Yeah.
Especially like this summer. Like I feel like even going for a walk like outdoors often is so beneficial to yourself. So yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I do want to hike. I think we should go. I think that would be cool to do a trip to Devil's Lake. It's only like a 3-hour drive from
Devil's
us.
Lake or Starved Rock?
Devil's Lake. Devil's Lake is better. I mean, can't say it's better, but
you like Devil's Lake?
I like Devil's Lake. There's better scenery, I think. Like you're not just in Starved Rock, you're above, and I can send you like, I mean, you can just look it up what Devil's Lake is, but it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Fishing there is cool. Camp. I think camping's pretty cool. We'd hike.
Yeah.
I don't know. We need to, I think going to also that place I said in like Utah or Colorado and doing hiking there.
Yeah.
Would be pretty sweet.
Another one, whitewater rafting.
You've done that, right?
Yeah, I want a whitewater raft on stage 5 rapids because I've done stage 4 and stage 5 is the highest. And it was so fucking fun.
It sounds cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done tubing, like the regular river tubing where you sit in a tube and you drink.
Lazy River?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, whitewater rafting though, it was on the Menominee River in Wisconsin, like northern Wisconsin, and it was a crazy fucking experience.
I guess this is not necessarily something that's dangerous or related to like climbing Mount Everest, but I do think one day I want to run a marathon, maybe do an Ironman. Ironman is
bike
70.2, I think, or 76.2. Yeah, bike, swim, run.
Yeah.
I think it's bike a marathon, run a marathon. No, it's more than that. I think it's more than that.
Like
I think it's bike it's the most.
Yeah, it's like bike 30 miles, run a marathon, and swim like 12 or 15.
I don't know if it's... let's see. Let's see what an Ironman is. What is an Ironman? Ironman run. 70.3. Let's see. .4 mile swim, 112 mile bike ride, and 26.2 mile run.
Wait,
why is it?
How many miles swim?
2.4. Why is it 70.3 then? Why is it called Ironman 70.3? Yeah, it says a marathon, 112 mile bike ride, and 2.4 mile swim.
It's crazy that a 2.4 mile swim is equivalent to a 112 mile bike ride.
Yeah.
Because I would feel like 26.2 miles of running is probably equivalent to 112 miles of biking, and that's why they do that. And 2.4 miles of swimming is probably the equivalent of 26.2 of running.
Oh. Half Ironman
is 70.
Is 70.3 miles. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I could. I mean, technically, I think I would need to mostly focus on running and swimming.
Yeah.
Because
Biking
is, I'm not going to say it's easy, but I think it's easier to keep up with biking than it is to run and swim.
Yeah.
I'm like a mediocre swimmer to begin with. And I've done a half marathon, but to do another half marathon on top of that is like ridiculous. Now, I do think I could take it in a different sense where I feel like when I do a marathon, I want to compete to try and get to a major.
Yeah.
So like, I think you have to do a 3:25 as a guy at one of the major qualifying events to get into the Boston. So I know it's any of the majors, and you have to qualify for Boston. I don't know the towns off the top of my head, or cities. But yeah, you have to do like a 3:25, 3 hours 25-minute marathon.
That's fucking absurd.
And I did an hour 59-minute half. So
you'd have to cut your time by half an hour?
Yeah. Well, yeah. What is that?
Half an hour twice.
Yeah. Yes. Well, no, 35 minutes because it's technically 4 hours. I would have done a marathon in 4 hours if I did.
Oh, yeah.
So
17.
But still, making up 35 minutes is...
Especially in the back half when you're going to be more tired than the front half.
Yeah, but that's why I'm trying to think of, like, do I try and compete for it, or do I just simply do a marathon, do it, not like party pace, which is like you do it at, like, the slowest pace you can do.
Yeah.
That's allowed. Or do I just do it at, like, a 12 to 13 mile or 13 per mile pace, 30-minute mile pace, and just not enjoy it because it's not going to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
But just do it, just to say I did it.
Yeah.
It's just a competitive aspect of me, though, that
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what's crazy? You know how earlier we were talking about fucking how we can get off on tangents and it's a lot easier to flow with these ones?
Mm-hmm.
We've literally only talked about, I had like 7 or 8 topics written down for today.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I don't ever talk about every single thing I have written down, but we've only hit 4 of like the 7 or 8 I've talked about. And we're at 2 hours and 7 minutes right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, yeah, that's just crazy.
It also goes back to like how fast time flies.
Yeah.
Because I feel like at the beginning, the first episode, the 45 minutes felt like forever. Yeah. And now it's just like we're talking about things that we're interested in. This is a question, I think. I mean, it's not even, I guess, I didn't even write this down. It's just a question I thought about when we were talking about what we were just talking about is, what is something that is productive, but you don't realize it? Wait, I think it's the other way. What is something that isn't productive that you think is, and something that is productive that you don't realize is also productive?
There's a lot of things that I do that I think are productive that aren't. But it's hard for me to pinpoint them because there's a lot of shit that like one that I can think of at work was, it's not necessarily that I thought it was productive, but it's kind of in the same realm where I would never prop both fridges open to pull everything, like pull all the food, because I didn't like leaving the fridges open for that long because it gave me anxiety. I didn't think the food was going to go bad. I just didn't like both fridges being open, and I don't know why. So I would open and close the fridge every time. And I'm like, well, it's okay for me to do it this way because it makes me feel better than
doing it the other way.
than just propping them open. But something that's not productive that...
Something you don't think that is productive but is.
Something that I don't think is productive but is.
I could give you an example.
No, I have a great example. Fucking writing things down and making a calendar. Because that is something that is... I know it's productive, but I don't want it to be. I don't want it to... Like, I don't want to have a planner to be productive, but I know it would help me a lot.
Mm-hmm. I think... I'm trying to think, what would be something that I think is productive that isn't? I sometimes sit at my desk acting as if, not even acting as if, but it kind of makes me feel like I'm getting something done. Like last night, I was doing like some research for the show, and I was sitting there like, maybe I should go do something extra here or look something else up.
Yeah.
And I just kind of sat there thinking about what I should look up, thinking I was being productive, but realistically I wasn't getting anything done.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, obviously it's kind of obvious. It is obvious to sit at your desk and absolutely do nothing. But that's kind of how I think of it as well. Like I feel like if I put myself in the sense that I'm doing something that's going to benefit me in the long run, or maybe I'll get something out of it, sometimes that puts me in like, I'm sitting here thinking, but I'm actually not getting anything done.
Yeah.
So if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Other than that, something that I don't feel like is productive that really is, I think the first thing that comes to my head is having conversations with people at work or just random people in general. Because sometimes I do say to myself like, oh, I don't have time for this. And it's in a way that I don't find any benefit in it. Like I'm thinking to myself like, there's not going to be any benefit in this.
Yeah.
But having that conversation with someone randomly or whatever, I should be curious. And usually when I do have conversations with people that I'm not necessarily initially interested in, I find benefit from, and it is cool to learn about what they do. And, I've known this person for this long, and I finally got to know something about them, where they work, how old they are, what they've done to get to, their
level they're at.
The level that they're at now. But I feel like there is a lot of things that could be considered productive that aren't. Oh, I actually have another thing. Looking at my email. I feel like I scroll on my email when I'm really bored.
Just to see what's there.
Just to see what's in my email.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, it gives me that like little bit of a dopamine rush to see like not even like a no email pop-up, like something that's
a good
like a
email.
name, or like maybe like a Substack email will come through with a newsletter. Like I guess that like reading is 100% productive, and I think it's productive, or I know it's productive. But there is some things where I'll look at my email and assume that there's going to be something there and it's going to be interesting, and there just ends up being nothing.
Yeah.
And that's something that I assume I think is productive, but it really isn't. So I definitely think I need to step away from looking at my email sometimes, or I just feel like I'm always in that mood of like waiting for something to show up.
Yeah.
And it
never does.
I mean, sometimes it does, but I feel like the most interesting emails that ever show up are something related to school, like a grade or a newsletter or something that I can learn from.
Yeah. My favorite emails are the ones that are like, I'm a Nigerian prince, and if you send me $6,000, I'll send you $1 million. And I've done it like 4 times, but no one's ever sent me money.
You too?
Yeah. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
I think they just got my bank info wrong, though, to be honest. I might do the next one that I see.
Did you give them your social security number?
Yeah. Maybe that's why Credit Karma says I have 16 new credit cards in my name.
That correlates to the fucking Neuralink thing. Can you imagine reading your social security number, social security card, and then somebody links in, and there you go. Identity fraud, just like that. Yeah. So simple, so easy. It's kind of in like the topic of like what we were talking about in terms of doing things crazy and stuff, but a little bit different. Would be, what are you more afraid of, the unknown depths of the ocean or the vast darkness of space?
I find comfort in space, honestly. Like if I was just drowning in the unknown depths of the ocean, down in the fucking Mariana Trench, that sounds fucking terrifying to me, but like just floating through space until I absolve into nothing sounds very peaceful almost. As crazy as that sounds, like I'd much rather just be floating through space than sinking in the ocean.
Yeah, I guess at one point you feel that whole way of drowning, the whole way down.
Yeah.
But I guess in space you could just open your thing and you would just freeze.
Yeah.
Now, who knows if
Do you
that's
say
painful
that
or
because you watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3? You would actually.
No, there was a different movie that I watched. Because I
you-
don't think it would be so slow of a freeze. I think you would just literally, you would open up and you would just completely
Dead,
freeze.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a vacuum, so you kind of like implode too.
Oh, yeah. I think that there's another movie. I think that's what happened. Space movies are pretty sweet, though.
Yeah. I'm very interested in space, so I find comfort in it, and that's why I'd choose space 100%.
I guess related to that, do you think it's more viable for us to have mega ships that can survive in, let's say our world gets taken over by water, just complete covered in water? Do you think it's more viable to have mega ships that can float in the water, or ships that can take everybody to space? Not everybody, but obviously.
It depends on where we'd go in space. Like, if you're gonna take us all to fucking Mars, we'd have to have civilization set up somewhere else before we hit that point. So
Sure.
I still think that the spaceship would probably be. I don't know though, because where the fuck would you get food?
Well, okay, that also kind of leads into another thing that, do you think it's possible that they're already preparing for something like this?
I mean, Elon Musk is. That's
True.
Mars.
True.
SpaceX.
True. But then again, I mean, the food would be probably all like military food.
Or lab grown on
True.
the planet.
Mm-hmm. Do you
They'd
think
probably
they
bring livestock to breed and start colonies?
Yeah. I'm trying to think if it would be, or do you think they already have a secret planet in mind?
See, like, I feel like this would be. It's very theoretical because, like, would this be at a time in the future where we can, like, travel the speed of light and we can go to one of these planets that are habitable like Earth that are 41 light years away?
Because you would need to have some sort of like cryogenesis system that would freeze you, and then you wake up when.
Yeah, when
like
you get back.
Yeah, when you get there.
Yeah.
So, there's a whole lot of it sounds improbable.
But if theoretically, yes, I would probably take the space route if all of those boxes were checked.
I feel like it's more. I feel like it's more probable to have a ship like for water rather than.
Now, yes. In 100 years, who knows?
True.
In 1,000 years, who knows? In 1,000 years, we could be on different planets.
In 1,000
already.
years, you might be able to Neuralink your body and your brain into another brain.
And send that brain to
Send
a
that
brain
to-
that's already built on another planet, and then you just ship it to that planet, and
Yeah.
you're there.
ship the data,
Yeah.
transfer the data from here to the satellite to there.
Yeah.
One day they may be a thing. Who knows? Well, we'll wrap it up there. That was that's the longest episode to date.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep,
It's 2
definitely.
hours and 21 minutes on there.
2 hours, 20 minutes of straight content.
Yes. That's going to be a lot of clips.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you next week. Later. Oh, wait, also, we're also posting on Wednesdays now.
Yeah, we're
No
posting
longer
on
Sunday.
Wednesdays now. No more Sundays.
Yep, sorry. Bye.